Peter, I'm going to turn to my next guest because it's already been a history-making morning, week, months, and it's only Tuesday. The government bailed out Citigroup. The Dow set a record for two-day trading, and President-elect Obama unveiled his economic team, and my next guest is well-versed on all of it. We are happy to be joined by legendary investor Jim Rogers. He's the chairman and CEO of Rogers Holdings, and I am so excited to talk to Jim about this because he's probably ready to flip out about it. Jim,
yes.
You have not been thrilled with this troubled asset relief program. You now walk into the studio and you just find out, breaking news, another $800 billion. Give me your reaction.
Well, aren't you distressed about it? I mean,
I'm very
outrageous.
distressed.
This is horrible economics. It's horrible morality. They've now spent over, what, $9 trillion US dollars of our money in the last 6 months. We're going to have to pay taxes for this. Our children are going to have to pay taxes for this. This is outrageous. It's bad economics and it's bad morality.
People were talking yesterday about the $7.4 trillion spent on this, and now, of course,
wait, Alexis, they just run it up by another 1.2 trillion.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. What would make us believe that allowing the Federal Reserve Bank's balance sheet to go from $950 billion to what some project could be $4 trillion by next year, it might be $4 trillion by tomorrow, and believe that that is going to help the credit markets? You tell me, you're the expert.
Alexis, remember Albert Einstein? He said the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. They've been doing the same thing for 15 years in Washington, expecting different results, and it is leading us into disaster. This is very bad for America. For the first time in my life, I'm really worried about the future of America, because those guys are building up gigantic debts and bailing out their friends. They're not bailing out you and me. They're putting us deeper in the hole. They're bailing out their friends.
The Troubled Asset Relief Program at the very start was created to purchase troubled assets. Now, they threw up their hands and said it couldn't be done. But at least if we had created a price by which to measure these assets, would we have had any greater success or capital injections?
Of course not, Alexis. What you're supposed to do in times like this, the way the system's supposed to work, when things go bad, the competent people take the assets from the incompetent people and start over from a stronger base. What we're doing this time is we're taking the assets away from the competent people, giving them to the incompetent people, and saying, okay, incompetent people, now you can compete with the competent people with their assets. This is weakening the whole system. You no longer have any strong institutions. This has never worked. The Japanese tried it in the 1990s. It led to 18 years of disaster for the Japanese. Their stock market is 80% below where it was 18 years ago. It has never worked.
Okay, so Jim, what about if we did a resolution trust corporation type of scenario where we took all of these assets and we selected a handful of top-notch advisors?
Oh, you're bad for my nervous system.
Okay,
Who?
yeah.
Paulson, who's been dead wrong for 100 weeks in a row, 100 weeks in a row. If I came on your show and I was wrong 100 weeks in a row, would you have me back? Mr. Paulson has been wrong 100 weeks in a row. Dr. Bernanke has been wrong 300 weeks in a row. Mr. Geithner, he's been wrong 750 weeks in a row. Who are these top-notch people you're talking about?
Okay, so, well, I was thinking that maybe you choose people who, as you mentioned, are the brighter people who have been running these assets. But the fact of the matter is, what scares me, Jim, is that we continue to give money hand over fist on a daily basis to people who we believe are the smartest minds. But if they were the smartest minds, how did they get us into this mess? How do we know that the money we're giving today is not going to be gone 6 months from now and then I got to be coming back to the piggy bank?
Alexis, there are plenty of banks out there and brokerage firms which didn't get involved, and homeowners and consumers which didn't get involved in all this. They sat, did what they were supposed to, waiting for these guys to fail, knowing they would fail. And now the morality of this is we're taking their money, giving it to the people who are failing, and it's bad economics to do it this way. What do you mean, how do we know? We know they don't know what they're doing. They prove they don't know what they're doing.
So how do we get out of the mess? I mean, if we're issuing
Listen, you let them go bankrupt. You let them go bankrupt. That's how you do it. Banks have been failing for hundreds of years. Investment banks have been failing for hundreds of years. This is not the end of the world.
So you don't believe that we're in the too big to fail scenario? You think we could have allowed Citigroup to fail?
Of course we could have. They should have failed. So what if some banks fail? Yes, it's going to be horrible for a year or two. Alexis, we had the worst credit bubble we've had ever in world history, in fact. We had huge excesses. Somebody's got to pay for that. You can't just say, well, we made a lot of mistakes and now nobody has to pay for it. I mean, that's idiocy. These guys are nuts.
But you and I both know, look, they're looking back in the rear view mirror and they're getting slaughtered daily for allowing Lehman Brothers to fail because many suggest
that's the best thing they did.
You think
me?
so? Okay,
that's the very best thing they could do, and they should have let them all fail.
Okay, so if we allowed a company like Citigroup or another financial institution to fail, what would that have done to the credit markets, and how do we fix the problem?
We would have had look, at the end of the 90s, South Korea got in trouble and collapsed for 2 years. Since then, they've been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. You clean out the system, you start over with renewed strength, and then you grow, and then you can grow very rapidly. What we're doing is, look, if I came to you with leukemia, and you said, well, here, we're going to put a Band-Aid here and take 3 aspirin tomorrow morning, I would say, what are you talking about? That's not the solution. I got to get rid of my leukemia. I got to take some drastic measures. They're not taking drastic measures. They're trying to save their friends. They're trying to save their friends on Wall Street. They're not trying to save the rest of us.